Hey y'all, my name is Tamra Andress. I am your Fit and Faith podcast host. I'm pumped to be here. Just me, no words, no scripts, no intros, no outros. I love authenticity. I hope to breed vulnerability. And I usually do this alongside another dreamer, mover, shaker, entrepreneur, passionista is what I love to call them. If you're a dude, then a dude. But I am loving just coming together in community with other people to share their high and low stories, to share their journeys to comeback, because I believe ultimately that's where God would have us. He would have us on the mountaintop. And even though we learn a ton in the pit and in the valley, God would want us right now, especially in this season of life, in this time of our culture, to shine. And so here I am. I want to teach you how to shine. I want to be alongside you when you get your glow. I want to catapult you into your calling, whatever that is. So this isn't a fitness podcast. This is not a religious banter, though we preach Jesus all day long. And this is not just about nutrition or health or wealth, though I like some green, and I know you do too. It's not okay for us to not be okay with talking about all of these things in unison. You guys, we don't just need a mental health podcast. We don't just need a fitness podcast. We don't just need a religious, spiritual podcast. It needs to blend. This is what Fit and Faith is all about. It's all about creating alignment, connectivity. It's about pursuing your wholeness and claiming it over your life and over the lives of the loved ones that you have around you in your community. So thank you for tuning in. I would love to get to know you more. You can like, review, subscribe, whatever it is. Send me an email, DM me. It's me. I have an amazing team alongside me, but you guys are getting me for now. So enjoy. I'm so pumped to have a coffee conversation with you, is what I'd love to call them. Don't have my coffee right now, but I have it in my system, as you can see. All the love. Let's do this together and keep going for your dreams, y'all. I'm super pumped to have another new friend in here. I feel like at the beginning it was all like all my OGs. And now I get to bring in all these fresh people and introduce you to my friends and family members and followers. And so today I am going to be learning right alongside you a bit about my new friend here, Scott Williams. We share a lot of passions when it comes to health and wellness. And he has a special place in my heart because he has the shared desire to infuse that into children. And so if you are here, I said this on the notes, but if you're here and you have kids, this is someone you want to hear from. If you're a dude and you're an entrepreneur and you're following your passions, you want to come for this too. Or if you're just somebody looking to see something new in the realm of health and fitness, especially in our area locally here and hopefully nationwide, because this is definitely something that I see growing. Scott's the one you want to tune into. So this is going to be good, Scott. I'm pumped to have you in the studio. Thanks for coming.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here. Love Virginia Beach. So just trying to go down there.
Yeah. Tell me about that, because you're not actually a born and bred local like me.
Right. I grew up in West Virginia.
Okay.
Moved to Charlottesville, Virginia 15 years ago. So now I'm officially from Charlottesville. But
Wahoo,
it
not so
took me a while to get there. I'm there
Okay.
But yeah, I have an affinity for the beach though. Yes. So this place is special. So we've been doing the summer camp business since 2011. Mm-hmm. We just grow a little bit each year in Charlottesville. Now it's time to spread our wings a little bit more and get outside the city. And
yes,
I thought down here would be a good transition for us.
So tell us a bit about what Camp for Real is and the premise of that.
So Camp for Real was born out of my passion for fitness and nutrition for my students. I tried to do a lot to change the school lunch. I'm passionate about nutrition. Ever since 2007, I really took an interest in what was in my food.
Yeah.
And it was probably a documentary somewhere along the way that influenced me, probably Food Inc.
Yep.
The more I learned about what we put into our bodies and how that affects us, just inspired me to learn more. And then obviously as I'm learning things and seeing the positive results that are happening in my body, I want to pass it on to my kids. And I always refer to my students as my kids. I don't have kids of my own, so people sometimes think that I have kids, but I love those kids so much that they are my kids.
Absolutely.
So there would be times the the thing that always sticks out to me is we'd have kids come into lunch.
Yeah.
They always want to be in the gym because it's the place to be.
Right.
And we'd have lunch in there with the fifth graders. It was like a weekly thing. It was a special thing because they're the big kids. And they get that special privilege. And it will forever be etched in my brain, burned in my brain. This kid coming in double-fisted with nachos and cheese. And cheese is in quotes. I don't know what the cheese...
Whatever that is.
But he didn't have any fruits, any vegetables, no water, nothing else, just two. And I just knew there was something broken about this process. And my cafeteria manager, to her credit, was awesome at my school. She tried to do things. Her hands were a bit tied. There was always so much she could do. So I went downtown and tried to meet with the powers that be, and I just could not get anywhere. So eventually I'm like, well, I'm just going to start my own business because then I will be the boss, and I can choose to put whatever I want in front of the kids and then let them choose. And
that's really cool.
That's kind of how it started.
Yeah. And how long ago was that?
2011, so we're starting, I guess this would be our 10th summer.
That's amazing. And you pretty much went right out the gate and you're just like, let's do this right now.
Yeah, we started, we did 2 weeks of summer camp at my school.
Okay.
And back in the day, we just did half-day camps.
Yeah.
And we did one up the road at Brownsville. That's our neighboring school, about 15 minutes away.
Okay.
So 3 weeks of camp the first summer. And just added weeks each year and started doing full days in 2017. And now I think we try to get around 13 to 14 weeks of camp each summer.
Nice.
So that's where we are now. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I work now that I'm not teaching. I left teaching in June. So I can work on this full time. So this is my first year without my kids.
Oh, that's a big deal.
It has been a big deal.
Yeah.
But it's whenever I'm in front of them now, I'm way more energetic and passionate.
I bet, because you missed that.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure, I know from any time that I have my passion project in front of me, and though this is your passion project, the kids are ultimately your passion project. Same for me. I can be working on my computer or I can be doing a podcast, but when I am face to face with a woman and I get to have that transformational experience with her, that's when you're like, yes, bring on the energy, which I think is so necessary. The people need that and they feed that from you. It was pretty cool because even just the day that you came to school and you weren't actually doing the camp, but you were just trying to get feelers out there in the community for the kids, which was so smart, by the way.
Right. Yeah.
Utilize the kids' word of mouth instead of the adults. My son came running home that day and he was like, Mr. Scott. And I'm like, I knew who you were. So of course I'm like, what did he do? And he told me all about it. And he's like, I'm going to camp, right? I'm going to camp. So I got asked all the time until camp happened.
That's what we want.
And then he didn't understand that February is between January and March. So the next one coming up is March 11th?
We're looking mid-March. So
mid-March. Yeah, he's ready. He thinks he's already signed up because he's like, it's coming tomorrow. I'm like,
awesome.
Not quite soon. So I think it's amazing and such a testimony for a 6-year-old to have that much energy towards something that you're instilling in them. And it's less about just the fun. They are having a blast, but what you're instilling is what they're taking home. He was even conscientious of the fact that mommy was eating popcorn for dinner, and he was like, I think I'm gonna have some blueberries and popcorn. And I'm like, cool, let's do it. Blueberries and popcorn, let's make it happen.
Awesome. Yeah, I hear a lot of stories like that, and it just keeps me going. And it's funny just talking about the kids. When I see them out in public, in the past, I would never avoid kids, but I would just be waiting from afar.
Yeah.
Now, whenever I see my kids, I'm running up to them.
Yeah, of course.
So whenever when I got in front of the kids at Friends School last week, and Jason Weiss was really good to have me in, and I click way better with kids than I do adults. Nothing against adults, but kids are the best.
Yeah,
and it takes me about 15 minutes to kind of develop that rapport and win them over. So I've been doing it for a long time. So
then you're in though. That's the cool thing about kids. It's once you get their trust, you're you're in for good. That's really awesome. So tell me about, you quit teaching, which you were a teacher for how many years?
15 years.
15 years.
Yep, same school. It was a great school. Wonderful community, very supportive of what we do, whether it was PE or Camp for Real.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
I miss them a lot, but I'm still tapped into, still go to kids' games and coaching some of my former students in basketball.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And so what other things beyond that? You said in 2007, and that number just stuck out to you. Maybe it was a documentary. Was there more within your personal health journey that kind of just led to that?
Yeah. I would get. It's interesting because I worked with 440 kids,
Yeah.
so I'd get sick 2, 3, 4 times a year, and just think,
Yeah.
well, that's status quo.
Sure.
Working with kids,
Sure.
and they're hanging on me. I'm
Yeah.
a hugger, so the
Yeah.
kids are hugging me every day, and I get those germs. And when I watched the documentary, and I cut out artificial stuff, so I've been vegan for 10 years, vegetarian probably 11 and a half. But it was cutting out artificial stuff before all that. I did not get sick literally for 4 years after that.
Wow.
And had some other experiences too with like household items like shampoo and dish detergent, and just everything just kind of fell into place. And I just saw so many benefits from just being more natural and clean.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like that's really rare, and maybe it's just me because I'm a girl, so I'm affiliated to women, but is that like common as a guy? Like, do you have guy friends who are like right on board with you, or do they think you're weird?
They're open-minded to it.
Okay.
They see me having success with whether it's, and a lot of my friends thankfully are open-minded to veganism or just eating more plants. And, and we don't push veganism either. We're just like plant power, eat more plants. Everybody agrees with my kids. I need to, whoever, we need to eat more plants.
Sure.
So, but yeah, my friends are very open-minded when they see the benefits that have happened for me in my personal life. They're like, well, I want to try that.
Yeah.
And I guess I inspire others to do it. My roommate just moved in with me 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And after watching me eat, he saw me eat like a pepper and a cucumber.
Yeah.
Like an apple.
Sure.
And it's just like, man, I just don't want to prep it. That's all it is. And I had him watch a documentary, and then he's like, hey man, I'm trying it.
That's awesome.
So
Which one did you recommend for him?
Game Changers.
That's out right now?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
That's the one based on sports performance.
Oh,
so
interesting.
It's not ethics.
Incomparable to your diet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
It was very entertaining, very well done.
That's awesome.
I've got probably 10, 11 texts about that. Like, send me your best recipes. Like, I don't have recipes. I'm like the ultimate single guy. Just frozen vegetables, put a protein in there, and some sauce.
And you're good.
I'm easy.
Yeah, that makes it easy. I love it because my husband's very similar. He shares a lot of that. And he's always been kind of the early adopter in any of those like phases or concepts or diets or anything that's in the health industry. And it always takes me so much longer to like get on board. And I don't know if it's because like as a child, my parents were so mindful of how we ate and talked to us about our food. And so it was almost like ingrained in us with that. Like, you know, you have the pyramid, right? Of like, this is what you need on your plate every night. And so for me, getting away from meat has been really hard because I've always thought like, this is my main source of protein. You can't take that from me. And I like really like it. It's so good. I have to have meat on my plate. And so recently he's been like, do you really think you love chicken? You think that's really what you love? Or do you think you really love the flavoring and the sauce of the chicken or the steak or whatever it is you're eating? And I'm like, man, why do you have to do things like that? Like, stop getting in my psyche. Like, I don't like it. So I think that it's so important. And then people have the juxtaposing view of like a raw pepper. They're like, that's so gross. But if you taste a raw pepper versus a raw chicken, imagine the flavor and the yumminess of that in variation to nothing. I say raw chicken. Hopefully you're not eating raw chicken, but a non-flavored chicken. Just like literally pop it, bake it, no salt, no pepper. It's not good. Yeah. It's so interesting. That's
what people, I eat tempeh and tofu all the time. And it tastes so, it's just like chicken. Chicken tastes horrible too until you season it.
Yeah,
you just gotta learn how to season it.
Right. It's so interesting. So from your childhood, do you feel like there was a play into that too?
No.
Really?
No.
Meaning you ate bad when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there wasn't any
pepperoni
influence.
Rolls, Little Debbie cakes. Like I had 2 pepperoni rolls and 2 Little Debbie cakes every lunch from probably 6th grade on.
Really?
Yeah.
What is are your parents still active in your like relationships right now?
Oh yeah.
What do they think about what you're doing?
My mom is the most supportive person in the world.
Yeah.
She is amazing.
Yeah.
She's the most non-judgmental person. She's the most supportive person. So whenever I come home, she's got 4 dishes ready for me.
That's awesome.
My dad pretty much is plant-based now. He had a heart attack at 41.
Okay, wow.
So it's heart disease is in our family. That's what my grandfather died of. And so that kind of terrified him.
Absolutely.
And he was in good shape too. I mean,
Wow.
he's in great shape still to this day. You wouldn't guess he's 65. But when that happened, you know, he got scared into eating more chicken and more vegetables. And then when I started doing this vegan thing, he was all interested in it. And
wow.
Well, he's not 100%. But
Sure. Yeah.
More plants, good. You know,
Absolutely.
I'm not trying to judge anybody. Everybody's got their own journey.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's even contemplating that, just thinking about
it's
it.
Huge.
So
2000, I'm trying to think, that was 13 years ago. So when he was 41. So you were a kid when he had that experience.
Mm-hmm.
So do you feel like even in your household at that time, there started to be this shift that you took note of?
Not really. Not me. I think more him. I was young and bulletproof, so I didn't really care. I still.
Yeah, you were
as soon as 2006, I still remember
so crazy.
the frozen pizza things that I buy all the time. It was disgusting. Probably 80, 90 ingredients in there.
Right.
So,
I was just speaking to this because I had my mom's friend had come over and she's currently fighting, I think, her 3rd round of breast cancer, which is just amazing. If you saw her from the outside, like you would just never imagine. Even her energy, her mindset, everything is just beautiful. And she was sharing about like our diet, and she loved that my husband and I are like where we are in that. And so she's like kind of challenging, but in a positive way. Like, okay, so you are this. So show me what kind of creamer you use in your coffee. Show me what additive you use in this area. And I showed her I was like really proud of my creamer because it's got MCT oil and it's like kind of like the bulletproof coffee type. Mm-hmm. And I show it to her and she's like, oh, nope. And I'm like, nope, what? Nope. Don't say nope, because I've like discovered, I've searched the world for this creamer that I utilize. Mm-hmm. And she was like, no, it's got gum in it. And I'm like, what? So I look at the ingredients and there's 5 ingredients, which we're always trying to keep. That's kind of our rule, like 5 and below, if you can keep that ingredient count. And that's like a way to start if you want to start transitioning away from kind of just eating out of your pantry. Start looking at the ingredients and how many are in it. But she starts talking about gums. And do you know anything about like xanthium and like all these different gums that are in food?
Guar,
I can't say them either. I don't even know
xanthan and guar. Yeah, I'm not.
You don't know much about them? So basically it's just like this concept that it's like the binding agent that utilizes for anything, peanut butter or whatever you're using. And it's really not good for you. She's like, if you look up what's in that, there's another 13 ingredient and it's not good for you. I'm like, oh, so I'm out of creamer right now and I'm trying to figure out what I can use that's good for me. Oat milk is what my husband uses.
Well, they're good at what they do, the food companies, at disguising things. We'll talk to the kids about, that's one of my favorite things about camp is we have I like to brag, we have the kindergartners reading labels. Wow. So obviously it's with their camp buddy, their older kid, but it's doable to recognize a number followed by a color, or a color followed by a number. So red 40, yellow 5. And that's how you identify the artificial colors. So we're setting that base, and hopefully I've got so many stories about after you did the label reading, we went through our cupboard and threw out half of the things in there. So
that's so good.
Yeah, it's really cool to empower the kids to be the leaders.
Absolutely.
And to push change at home. And
wow, interesting. Yeah, because it doesn't usually happen that way. It's not usually top down. Mm-hmm. So to have that influence, I mean, that's essentially what you're doing, because my heart is like for women to take that change for their children. So if like my kids came home and started saying something just like they are now in every other realm of influence, if they want something or they're interested in something, you naturally take note of it because you want to know, is it good for them? Should they be influenced by this? And like, this is such a positive change. I'd be really curious if I was on the receiving end of that and I wasn't in a shared alignment, how I would take that. Like, would I be self-checked? Like, yeah, sure. Or would I write it off? So I think it's just the more exposure that they have, just like us as adults, the more exposure they have to these concepts, the better. And I love that, like, I think, and I'm hopeful that our education system is like moving towards that. But I heard recently, I have a girlfriend who's really into like the political backing of like change that's taking place behind Americans' eyes, right? Like whether it's Senate, whether it's legislation, whatever it be. I am not political, so I really don't even know how or why I'm talking about this in this moment. But there was a recent legislative article about the fact that they are downgrading what is required by school lunches on the scale of nutrition by, I think it was like 40 different items being like clear to be given. And I was like, what? Like, that makes me so mad.
That's very disappointing.
Isn't it?
I honestly choose to be ignorant about some things now because I tried. And back to my cafeteria manager, she was just so overworked. And I remember she would make these unbelievable dishes, the roasted vegetables, these bean soups, and they wouldn't sell because the kids are used to eating the other things. And she has to put out the chips, and because they're snacks that meet the guidelines, and they're very convenient because she doesn't have the person power to be prepping food back there.
Yeah, exactly.
So that sells. She's like a mini business in there, and she tried, but
it's all about
frustrating, but it got me out doing this.
Yeah, absolutely, which I think is so powerful. So from your like fitness journey, because you're in shape, other than, I know you can't just be like doing what the little kids are doing. What's your fitness passion?
It's evolved into dance.
Dance?
Oh, yeah.
This is a mic drop moment. I'm so excited about this. What do you mean?
Well, we're pretty well known in our area. I worked at Meriwether for 15 years.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
We often, Meriwether Lewis, that's the name of the school.
Okay. Oh, that's the name. Okay.
We had anywhere from 5 to 12 males working in the building throughout that, I'd say, 8 years that I was into dance. So we formed a group called the Men of Meriwether. And we would empower people to dance because we are not very good. We just love it. We love having fun. And we put ourselves out on YouTube, and
oh my gosh, this makes
the
me
community
so happy.
loved it. Yeah, and when you have people that are not good at something, but they get out and put themselves out there and they're loving it and they don't care how silly they look. The stills on the YouTube videos, where you want everybody kind of moving the same direction. I'd always choose the stills where like everybody's going like 7 different directions because we didn't care for perfection. We just
That's amazing.
wanted to inspire our kids to move, and they absolutely loved it, and it took off. And we eventually, now I have the dancers, so DANSIRS.
Okay.
And we highlight male PE teachers around the country and try to empower other teachers, not just males, but in our culture, dance is not seen as manly.
Yeah.
So I've got some pretty manly PE teachers in New York. Brandon's in New York, and I got Chris in North Carolina, Ben in Texas, Matt in Vermont, Matt in Santa Monica, Alex in Seattle. We remotely choreograph these routines, and then we'll edit them together. So it's like you got the first 16 counts, you got the next 6, and we make these videos.
So much fun.
And we hear from a lot of our female colleagues around the nation that it's hard to get the boys to buy in because they don't have a male role model dancing. But when they flash us up there, they get little clips of 7 different dudes dancing.
That's so much fun.
Yeah, and the pinnacle was the YouTube channel had like 13,000 subscribers, and we got to perform on the stage of our national conference right before the keynote.
Teaching conference.
PE teachers, yeah. So I don't know, thousands of 4,000 or 5,000 people. And so we performed a routine similar to our halftime show. So for 9 years, we did a halftime show. We take our 5th graders, and I'd edit a dance medley together, just different genres, different songs, different styles. And we'd go perform at our feeder high school once a year. And that was just so we did that type of routine at our national conference last year. And it just blew people's minds. They loved it. And the keynote speaker was DMC from Run DMC. And the dude is still in great shape. And we were backup dancers for they said we could come up there at the end. So not only did we get out in front and dance in front of everybody,
you came again.
We came back up there. And
that's so fun.
I got my colleague Andrew Weimer, who worked with me for 9 years and works with me at Camp for Real. He was there, and he snapped pictures of me up on the big screen. I've never seen myself so happy in my life.
That is so neat.
And it is the best thing for my mental health too. I went through professional breakup. I lost my brother who,
Okay.
For 3 years, he worked with me and we were just as tight as could be.
Yeah.
And he moved away. Relationship, the job just wasn't fun anymore. So it was probably one of the most challenging years of my life, if not the.
Wow.
And the only time I could find any happiness was exercise and dance.
Wow.
Like dance would always, and singing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't tell by my voice, but I love to sing too. So those things just make me happy.
And that's all this past year that's been happening, or?
Oh, the dance? No,
Yeah.
the dance has been happening a while.
Well, I mean the mental health like push through.
Oh yeah, that was
This
last year and a half.
Before you quit or after?
It was kind of the thing that pushed me to do this. So that's why I'm grateful for it. So yeah, it was all kind of ran together, and I made the call early on last year. Like this is my last year. I gotta get out
Step
of here.
away. Yeah,
Something.
absolutely. That's incredible. I think it's so powerful. I went to the Rachel Hollis. Are you familiar with who she is? She is kind of like a women empowerment. Her husband's actually come alongside her in the last year or so, who you probably relate more to. Dave Hollis, who he worked at like Disney, was one of the top execs for like 16 years, quit his CEO position to come alongside his wife as her CEO. But she runs this conference every year, and there's about 4,000 to 6,000 women that come multiple times per year. So I went to one, which was oriented around business, not just women empowerment, last fall. And I knew she was high energy. I knew she was like joking around about dance, but she literally would have us just like ball out dance for like a long time. Not like 5 seconds, get out of your chair, which she did do that as well if we were in the middle and she was like talking and people, if she saw one person yawn, she would make the entire audience get up and dance, and she didn't care where you were, and she'd call you right out to. She said, if I can catch you on camera, I will. And so it was like so fun. But I love dancing. And I was on a dance team when I was younger, and like I used to dance probably in inappropriate places when I was in my midlife crisis. And then as a mom, I love to dance with my kids, but I've always had this like negative thought on like full-on dance, because when I was younger, it always was appeared as this like non-fun experience. It was more for like the view of another person, right? And what their opinion was of you while you were dancing. And I got away from it because I never wanted like my son to think of that as the way that dancing was related to. We wouldn't watch music videos, like none of those things. And yet whenever a song comes on, what's the first thing that a baby does? They start moving in their little diaper, right? And so I got to like experience dance in an entire new way when I became a mom, in the joy aspect of it, and it being for this like sake of movement and breaking a sweat. And now Cooper is into breakdancing, this is my first breakdancing experience, and we literally bust out breakdancing moves. I have bruised knees to prove it, and we will break a sweat in 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
It is such a good workout.
Doesn't take
so
long.
you guys gotta add that element. Have you tried any breakdancing in there?
I saw his breakdancing.
Did he do it?
We call it Club Igloo, when we take the giant parachute up and then we sit underneath it. I put the music on and I call different colors, whatever color is sitting on. I think it's on one of the videos on Instagram that we posted. So
that's really fun.
And that's what I'm really concerned about my kids, because day one in kindergarten they're dancing, so they don't know any better.
Right.
And once they leave me in 5th grade, that's just a different story.
Right.
Those 6 years they were with me, they're dancing and they're comfortable with it.
Yeah,
and
so cool.
Not everybody's gonna love it, but they're way more confident than I was in elementary school and middle, high, college.
Yeah, well, I think that's the
20s.
biggest thing is everyone, like just like our art teacher always says, everyone's born an artist. Everyone is born a dancer. Like there's no element of you that can't move. Are you comfortable in your skin doing it? Maybe not, but that just is a confidence factor.
Right.
And anyone can be confident in their skin. I've seen people up on all the stages of the world on those TV shows that they do. So you think you can dance or any of that. And I'm like, what? Like that is incredible that they are doing that, when you wouldn't first off just think off of initial judgment that person would be like able to do that. It's wild. So I think that's really, really cool. So exercising via dance. Like, do you do Zumba?
I don't do Zumba much.
Yeah.
I've got away from classes.
Yeah.
And I used to dance with the kids all the time.
Yeah, sure.
So now I would like to learn how to swing dance.
Cool.
I've got one move that I break out all the time. Everybody loves it because it's a bunch of twirling around.
Yeah.
But I want to learn more.
That's awesome.
I absolutely love it.
That's really cool.
And when you speak about, like, so you think you can dance, it's interesting because at the PE conferences, they used to hire these classically trained dancers to come in and be presenters.
Yeah.
And they were amazing, but they do not bring attendees. Like, people are like, I can't do that. And the person that empowered me was me. He was, I would say, when I met him, probably mid-40s.
Okay.
And he was a basketball coach, so tall, lanky, had great rhythm.
Yeah.
So he could stay on beat, but he was stiff as a board. But he was up in front of a large group of people, and the women loved it.
Yeah.
And I saw him, and I was like, and I saw the women, and I was like, all right, he can do that, I can do it too. And now I'm that guy. I'm like one of the main guys in the PE world that is
so much fun.
Oh, he can do it? Oh, yeah. I can do it too. So we have a bunch of different, like I showed some things today when I was in Norfolk teaching the PE teachers there. You don't have to get in front of the kids and dance. You can project us up there. You can. We taught them a safety dance today.
Yeah.
There's a game called safety dance where if you're going to get tagged, you got to break out a dance move. And if you break out a dance move, you can't be tagged. So now the kids that may be a little apprehensive about dancing, they hate getting tagged.
Yeah.
So now they're going to dance. So just finding novel ways to bring people along, because I've been both places. I hated dance. I was terrified of it.
Interesting.
We had an objective in 4th grade where the kids had to create their own routine.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, I did not. I said, if you can clap to the beat for 8 counts, I'll check you off. And we did not meet the objective. We didn't assess it. And I look back on that, and I'm glad that it happened that way, because I can relate with people.
Yeah.
Like, I understand. I used to be there.
Right.
Now I'm complete opposite. So I want to get you there. So when I go in, when I'm lucky enough to have, I love just going in and teaching dance, period. Like, this was a PE job, so I infuse a little everything. Sometimes I get to go teach. Like Colorado last year, I got to teach 3.5 hours of dance. So I'm showing them dance. I'm teaching them a halftime routine so they can take their kids, and I was like, just take it. You got the music, you got the choreography, just do it. Tag games, ways that you can put the kids in position to create, collaborate. So it's all high level thinking, choreographing dance.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, absolutely. It's so good for you. Yeah, so, even just the handshake. What is it? Camp for real. Woo! I got it.
Yeah, you got it. Good.
It's so fun. I just think it's so good for our kids to express themselves in that way. And it's one of the reasons that my kids are at the school that they're at, because they have that ability, I feel, all the time. But to infuse it in such a way that they can carry that with them through the rest of their lives. It's so necessary. And especially with all of the, concepts of mental health, and knowing that this is an opportunity for kids to utilize that in such a positive way versus thinking of it any other way besides it being a freedom of expression, I think is so powerful for them to have, especially if they're able to do it with you, that kindergarten through 5th grade. And then when they do get into those a little bit more risque years, they can think back on the freedom that they got to experience in dancing versus anything else that it could become.
Right. I tell the kids, nobody ever looks, like when you get to middle school, nobody ever looks at the person standing against the wall. It's like, that guy looks cool, not doing anything. They like the people dancing. And
it's true.
One of the things I'll do in my sessions is I'll provide the teachers YouTube links